Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
It feels a little weird. I almost feel like I have a pent up, like, it's not the usual. Why did I do it different? That's just to give you a heads up, everybody. This isn't your normal type show. Or is it? Or it's exactly the normal show. It's exactly what we always do.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Grawlix Podcast live show, whatever. Hey, tonight we're talking about Hawkeye. We're going to talk about that and other things. Holidays are coming. Otherwise, we're just kicking it. We're kicking it. We're going to be relaxed. What's up, Paul? Paul is currently knees deep in the, what are you calling it? The 12. And Savannah, what's going on, Savannah?
What up?
Holding it down on the Twitch.
12. Paul's currently a few days into his 12 days of, it should be like Moose Miss or Mash Miss or something.
Moose mash.
Moose masochism.
That's a pretty good description of what he does to himself every year, trying to get a podcast a day prepared.
Whew.
Not even a podcast a day. Not even a podcast a day. Just it's a podcast a day, but also like 13 horrifying days of Christmas. It's notable interviews with people like every episode. Like it's it'd be a special episode if it was one of our shows, and he's doing 13 of them during arguably, and this is not a critique, the slowest time for podcast downloads. But maybe there's some some genius to that.
Well, I mean, it's evergreen, so people will come to those interviews when they're looking for that person.
Right. But first, how are you two doing?
Good.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, this is the energy we got tonight.
This is what we're doing. Yeah. Grawlix, it's for the children.
Oh, Savannah, everyone will listen while they're on vacation next weekend? Yeah. A show like Paul's does benefit from being more evergreen than some shows. Like a show that's weekly and live and talks about news and stuff. Mm-hmm. Those aren't so evergreen.
Remember when we used to try not to be timely and relevant?
I so prided myself on making sure like evergreen episodes was the whole thing. Like they're reviews of things, but they're not like current things. They're just like you're revisiting or discovering Swamp Thing for the first time. Hey, we got like 6 episodes where we dedicated like 6 months to going through Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run, evergreen. And now we're just like, I don't know, Monster of the Week.
Here's what I watched on my TV box.
Yeah.
It's kind of not a good segment, is it?
I mean, it's a great segment, but it's totally the opposite of what we used to do.
Right. By the way, we keep doing this every week, or almost every week. We're not doing it next week. Just a heads up, Savannah. But we keep doing it because of people like Savannah, because she is one of our cat dancing level tier patrons over on patreon.com/Grawlix podcast, and you too can help support the show by giving us as little as $1 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Savannah.
Woo!
Here, I got to put this up on screen.
Oh yeah.
I love the Grawlix podcast. That's a review right there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We may not be a Wu-Tang podcast, but
do you like intentionally? You probably just have that sitting off to the side. You're like, oh, it's about time for Grawlix. Put on Wu-Tang. just for that
I gotta go through my like Mr. Rogers moment when I get home from work, because I'm not gonna wear that work stuff all the time. And then I'm like, what night is it? Oh, it's Grawlix time. Putting the Wu-Tang on because it's for the children.
So what do you sing? Do you like a "Won't You Be My Neighbor"? But what would it be if instead?
Hey, dirty!
Cool. Well, speaking of segments that are not necessarily a great idea, what you guys been watching anything and consuming anything interesting lately? Not really.
Nothing.
No. Me either. Before the show, I was like, I don't know about this episode. This is gonna be an interesting one. Like, I'm kind of low energy. We had no topic, and I've watched nothing. I've watched nothing in the last week. So,
Well, we watched one thing.
we watched one thing. We will talk about that. I could talk about Mario Maker Let's Play videos, but I can't because you can't talk about those. There's nothing to them. There's
I
people
know-
played Mario.
I know what we can talk about.
Huh.
We can talk about a trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Uh-huh.
Possibly the biggest movie news of the year.
So far, and the
What-
year's almost over.
What? Hold on. You're going to hear my typing. What was that movie even called?
Oh,
The-
it's like Glorious Purpose or something.
It's what? It's not that, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, hold on. Stop it with this.
The incredible something of,
Okay. The unbearable weight of
Okay.
massive talent.
yeah, that's what it's called.
Yes.
That's such a good title.
Yes.
So, Nick Cage, if you haven't seen this trailer, search out the trailer. It's not, the trailer itself is not as weird as I would expect, but it hearing what this is, like the central thing of this, and then watching the trailer, you're like, oh, okay, no, like I see where the movie is. Nick Cage plays Nick Cage. I mean, he kind of always does, but now he's actually playing Nick Cage in name.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a movie about I don't know, some weird adventure, some weird scenario that Nick Cage is in, and he's playing himself, and he's the main character. I'm almost a little surprised it's taken this long,
Right.
Because he's such
He's
such a character.
After Jean-Claude Van Damme did it, it was like, why wouldn't Nick Cage do this? But it's so awesome. It's like so meta, and it like pokes fun at himself. Like, well, I'm out of money, so what could I do?
Right.
Yeah.
I appreciate that he's Nick Cage. You kind of like have to, but embrace the meme, so to speak. Like
Right.
he's kind of embraced it without going like ridiculous about it. There are actors who like once they're like, oh, I'm known for this, and then they just kind of go overboard. He's still Nick Cage. He's still, a little dodgy about it, I think, outside of stuff. But, there's that SNL skit he did, I don't know how long ago, where next to the guy who's doing the impression of him. That was
Right.
good. Stuff like that.
Well, and he was in that one. What was it? Kafka movie.
Kaufman?
Kaufman. That's what I meant. Kaufman movie where he plays his brother, but that movie is basically him telling the story of himself in somebody else's book or something. I don't know. He's used to that weird type of, I'm self-indulgent crap.
Oh, yeah, no, that's for sure. Yeah, and maybe that's more of the appeal for him in this. It's how much more self-indulgent can you get? Well, what was that one movie? I think I watched it when we did the Cage match. Like, we watched a bunch of different Nick Cage movies.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of it offhand, but at one point his character in there is reading a book by Nick Cage, and he's reading it out loud, and it's some weird, kind of creepy sex story or something.
Yeah.
And so, he likes that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a matter of time before somebody's like, I want to do a movie with Nick Cage in it. And they're like, okay, no, with Nick Cage in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who will be who's our other big name? Pedro Pascal,
Right.
the flippin' Mandalorian.
Yeah. But honestly, I think maybe they're both the kind of guys that are a little bit Samuel L. Jackson. Well, they'll just take anything, and that's
Right.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah, and Pedro Pascal as a character, and so that's
Right.
kind of interesting. And also, like, I think it was the scenes with him that I was like, okay, I'm actually not that I was not on board with it, but I'm like, I'm more on board with it because you see several, of course, everybody knows Pedro Pascal right now, so they're going to show a bunch of scenes with him, but you get a bunch of scenes with him and Nick Cage interacting, and I'm like, okay, it's a proper movie,
Right.
but also that kind of highlights also it's a comedy, clearly.
Right.
It'd almost be better if it was not. If it was like some kind of weird horror thing. Oh, but anyway.
I mean, that's what was it? Oh, that was not a good movie. Wonderland. What was that called? The not Five Nights at Freddy's movie
Oh yeah, yeah.
with him in it.
Where he doesn't speak till like the end.
I don't think he. Yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he even spoke at the end. He just says nothing.
I thought he talked to the girl at the very end, but I could be wrong.
I don't think so. He just beats up animatronics and drinks Monster and does his job. That's Willy's Wonderland. Thanks, Savannah. I mean, that could be. You could argue that's just Nick Cage on a quiet day, I guess. All right. Yes. Thanks. By the way, shout out to Jasper, I think it was, who brought that trailer to our attention in our chat.
It's everything I want from a Nick Cage movie, I think. We'll find out because I've been wrong before.
Did that one Pig movie ever come out?
It
Yeah.
did. It did. And
Okay.
I think it's supposed to be good.
Okay.
It's kind of a drama. It's more of a serious movie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sometime, perhaps.
Yeah.
Randy needs to go out onto the seas again for us sometime and gather up some booty.
The unbearable weight of massive talent. It just makes me think of Juilliard. That's acting, sucker. It like that attitude.
Right.
Or what's his name from the soap opera actor robot in Futurama? This ungodly acting talent. That attitude. That's what that title makes me think of. So
Yeah.
a pig movie. Yeah, there's a movie where he's in search of his pig.
Yep. It's Truffle
It's
Pig.
like John Wick, but it's a pig.
It's a pig.
And I don't know if he shoots people, but he cooks. I know that.
It's like John Wick, but it's a pig, and he cooks instead of shoot people.
He might not be violent. I'm not certain.
Paul, what Cage movie did you send us?
Is it the one that we were just talking about?
It could be. I might have missed a notification. Listen, I've been checked out on social media and for the last 2 years, so
Wow. Savannah says the Omaha scanner reported a thing about a 250-pound pig on the loose in downtown Omaha. So if you're in downtown Omaha, make some bacon.
250 pound. You could easily ride that pig. That sounds fun.
To war!
Yeah.
Let loose the pigs of war!
Now, pigs are
Man.
scary, man.
They are.
Hmm.
You sent that earlier. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not sure. I'm going to say yes, Paul.
Yes.
Thank you. I had the urge just to play the Snyder Watch intro
For no reason?
for no reason.
Okay. All right.
That's fun.
I didn't. I won't because there's no. Oh, Savannah says, I don't know what Paul is asking. I know, it's because you're over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Grawlix podcast, where you can watch us live when we go live. And Paul's over on facebook.com/Grawlix podcast. There's nobody over on youtube.com/Grawlix podcast except for the 350 subscribers that are on there that subscribe because they liked that one horror video we did like 7 years ago.
And we always say, maybe we should do another one of those, and then we don't.
I love horror movies.
It like demonetized you and was such a pain in the butt, wasn't it?
It was a pain. It was a pain. And
maybe we should all just shave our heads, because that gets you like 10,000 views or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's not. No.
Yeah, first off, I don't want to do that.
I'm not convinced that it'll come back. Maybe it will.
Right.
But at this point in my life, I'm not willing to make that risk.
That's a real good point. I'm never cutting my hair. I mean, that was kind of my decision anyway. I was like, I'm never going to cut my hair. I'm going to have long hair until it falls out, until I'm bald. And that's why I will have long hair.
Well, I think my hair is magic because I'm getting on and my hair's still long and beautiful and I don't even have any grays. So we can cut it all off and it'll all grow back. Oh, yeah, and Savannah's right. These dudes do have angelic hair, so maybe your hair is nicer than a lot of people's. I guess maybe that's why you don't want to cut it.
Oh, sorry. We do have angelic hair. It's beautiful. I wish my hair would keep growing. This is it. This is the extent of it. I mean, it's long, but that's it. It has not changed in
the entire time I've known you. It's just like 12 years.
Yeah. It's just the exact same length all the time. It's not growing, and I think everybody has there's a certain length that your hair can get, and it just won't go longer. And I hit mine, which I would have it down to my ankles if I could.
You shouldn't, though, because I tried to grow my hair out when I was younger so that I would be able to walk around naked and not be naked. And once it gets past your butt crack and you have to pull it out of the way when you go to the bathroom, it becomes a pain in the butt. You just don't want it anymore. I'm telling you,
That's a good point.
It gets to be a hassle.
It's fine. Paul says his is purple and green. You have purple and green hair? You dye your hair?
Cool.
And Savannah's hair has hair of fire to match her personality. It's smooth. It's nice.
Yeah.
Not naturally.
No. Naturally, it's black like her heart. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
like
just kidding.
Her real soul.
But just like our personalities.
I was going to say maybe it's Maybelline, but I was way off.
I dyed my hair black once when I was a teenager. It was horrible. It looked so stupid. Because it was not just, it's jet black, of course. It was jet black. And I don't have the complexion for such a thing.
No, you don't. Well, I dyed my hair rainbow, and it was awesome. I suggest everyone should dye their hair rainbow at least once in their life.
Fair enough. Fair, yeah.
This is fascinating. I know.
This is what happens. This is what happens when we don't have a topic. We're like, let's talk about our hair.
Yeah, well,
hair in general.
I could have easily scraped together some news.
Mm-hmm.
No, man, this is a holiday time.
Right.
We're not going to have a proper Christmas episode. I know we talked something about a potential New Year's episode, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our just sit. We're just kicking it, laid back.
I can talk some extra science stuff if you want.
We'll get to it.
Oh, okay.
No, yes, but hold on. To be fair, see, we always approach the live stream as like, this is an episode of the podcast. But man, I feel like most live streams are probably just this.
Oh, right.
Just here talking.
Yeah.
I think that's how they can do it. that's how they do it for like 6 to 8 hours at a time, like people do on Twitch, Twitch specifically, and they play games sometimes too.
Yeah.
But man,
really good ones just do multiple things at a time. Like the one lady that I've talked about before that does her makeup tutorial, and she tells true crime stories. Awesome. I think we need that. We need a true crime segment, and then everybody would listen.
so you're saying we need to become a true crime podcast?
No.
Or we could do a true crime.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! Wow. So okay,
we're a clean language podcast because of my profession. Maybe we shouldn't do a true crime.
okay.
But-
Well, what's the level of true crime? Because true crime podcast usually cover stuff like murder. Not really like
No, we'll do true crimes like tax evasion, petty theft. Like
A little jaywalking.
we'll just maybe accidentally put a candy bar in our pocket and walk out.
Well, I've been
Like true crimes that people actually do.
the mundane crime.
driving
The Mundane Crime Podcast. There we
driving
go.
without registration.
Yeah. Oh, my plates might be expired.
Yep.
When you gonna fix that? By the way, Melanie.
Sometimes.
You heard it here first. We are a Mundane Crime Podcast now.
Yep.
Ooh, the blue. Paul says the blue. Let's see. I don't want to
collar
watch
crime.
true crime happening for real. Savannah says. Paul says blue collar crime podcast. But we'll go true blue collar crime, and we won't actually get any hard time for our crimes.
Right.
I don't know, man. I think you got something there. That's a potentially a good idea. But it also made me think of the first thing that popped in my head is because I've been on a kick of, that's kind of some stuff, watching videos about metal, the various types of metal music, as in
I was just like aluminum?
heavy metal, death metal, doom metal, black metal, and it made me think of black metal, where they take their messaging way too seriously, and there's some horrific, grisly stuff in black metal history, and that's what it made me think of. We'll be the black metal of podcasts.
Okay.
Only like really, really kind of mundane.
Right.
No murder, no suicide, no burning
no,
churches. It's all gonna be,
Parking tickets.
parking tickets, jaywalking, driving without a registration, stuff like that.
So we'll be like the gray metal.
Yeah.
Gray metal. Yeah. But
Light
it'll be
gray.
blatant jaywalking. It'll be blatant.
I'm gonna wait till there's a police driving by, and I'm gonna lock eyes.
I'll wait for a bike cop.
Around
be-
here, I'll be waiting for a while.
I was gonna say I might be waiting because
I don't know.
there are not too many.
No.
You know what you don't see enough of? Horse cops. You
Right?
hardly ever see them around.
No, I feel like you need to be in New York or something specifically for horse cops.
I've seen one downtown one time.
Really?
They're not horsing around in Nebraska.
You'd think there'd be more horse cops. We got horses.
You would
Yeah.
think so.
But no, they're just gonna ruin the environment instead.
Yeah.
Driving those gas guzzlers.
Now I want to see an episode of Bojack Horseman where he's a cop. I don't know how that would happen. Maybe he just plays one.
We never finished that series.
No, it got too depressing, I think.
Well, no. Well, yes, it did. But it's a great show.
It is.
But also, it's one of those things, like, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there's another show where it's like, I'm glad it exists. I don't want it to end. Oh, it's like Invincible, the comic series.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want it to end, so I'm just not going to read the last of it. So
Yeah.
it's still going, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
I don't need to enjoy it. It just needs to be.
Yeah.
I was trying to convince Axton to watch it, like get through the first episode.
Of BoJack?
No, of Invincible.
Oh, Invincible. Right.
But like he's
You
one of
won't
those
do it?
people that like it's got to hook him right away or he's out.
Did he not get through the first episode? Because
Well, that's what I kept asking him. I was like, "Did you get through it?"
the hook is the end of the episode.
exactly.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I guess that first episode might be considered slow, but really,
Not
it's
really.
not.
No.
And plus, that hook at the end was like, man, if you get to the end of the episode, nah, you're coming back.
That's if you go back and listen to that, I don't know which episode it was we were talking about that, or 3 because I repeat myself again, but that was my concern. Is like that first episode, I'm like, man, it's not a strong opening for people who aren't familiar. Like, there's nothing here that's really going to hook people. Boom, until the end of the episode, I'm like, oh, they were
Right.
saving the hook all up for that last literal like 30 seconds, 45 seconds of the episode. That's the hook.
And I think he's so close too. Like he's at the point where Mark gets his costume or whatever, and like, doesn't it happen like right after that? Like
I don't know.
you get the Invincible splash, and then you get like the end stuff. I think.
Invincible is so good that I'm glad the series is good, and I'm glad that it is coming back. Oh, that reminds me, Chucky is another one I talked about. I'm not going to talk about it more. Maybe I already mentioned this, but it was renewed. I've heard since the last I talked about it. So there will be more Chucky, and apparently it was very popular. So I'm glad about that.
Yep.
Invincible, yeah. Invincible's animation, so it's gonna take a bit longer.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
Speaking of
like
which, we did watch the first episode of was it part 2 or chapter 2 or season 2 of Lock and Key? We did start that, but that took so long to come out that like I legit forgot a lot. Like, and I don't usually forget stuff, but I'm like, what's an echo and what's happening?
We
And the
never
recap
finished-
did not do enough of it for me.
Oh,
'Cause
really?
It was like the recap. They did a recap and stuff, but they kept referencing stuff, and they're like, "But Dodge is an echo," and I'm like, I forgot what that means. Other than the thing you just regurgitated, like
Right.
I'm an echo, so that means I can't die.
Need like a recap episode.
Yeah, yeah, like a full episode that's like, remember this, and this is important because of this.
We never finished that first season.
Oh, it was good. It was good, but it gets weird and like it really gets into the lore all of a sudden. And so like there's all these little bits where I'm like, I forgot about that. All I really remember are the keys are cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't get further into it because I really liked the comic. But I was worried that they were jumping into a lot of it right away.
Right. Right.
So I don't. Maybe they went somewhere different with it than they did with the comic, which it would be good because I've already read the comic. But we'll see.
Well, a show that I would like to watch more of is Hawkeye.
Oh yeah.
Our one kind of topic this episode. Melanie and I have only watched the first 2 episodes. We didn't even get to Jesse's big screen debut.
My episode 3 cameo and episode 4 recap cameo, I might add.
Hey, Paul, thanks for bouncing in. So take it easy.
Have a good.
Also, sorry I didn't get you an ad to run. I probably won't. I appreciate the offer. He was like, hey, you want to do a T-shirt ad for the episodes? And I was like, yeah. I just haven't done it. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, maybe been swamped.
So I'm a swamp thing. Give me some tubers.
Some tubers.
Oh, I miss Swamp Thing.
You could do a T-shirt of that. It's a swamped thing. Like you're swamped. It's a swamped thing.
And it's just some whacked out creature eating tubers.
Yeah, yes. What's Tater's precious? It's Gollum. It's Gollum eating potatoes. It's nasty, hobbitses. Or he's jaywalking.
So,
Both.
you know, when you jaywalk, you're on the street. You know what else is on the street? Hawkeye.
He's street level, yeah. Except for when he's on top of buildings or driving a car.
Or flying around on a spaceship.
Right. Yeah, in that first episode, yeah.
So, yeah, Jesse talked about it previously already. Melanie, like I said, Melanie and I only watched the first 2 episodes, so we don't have a whole lot to add. But Jesse, you're current.
Yes.
And I will say that, yeah, I want to watch more. We only watched 2 episodes just this last weekend, and but it's good. It hooked me. It hooked me already. I don't know why.
Remind me, when does Maya make her appearance? Does she make her appearance at the end of episode 2 or 1?
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Maya is?
No.
I could have swore she was in episode 2. She would have been at the end. She's the boss of the...
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it didn't seem significant. Well, I mean, it was significant, but I'm like, I don't know who that lady is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, no, that's Echo. So...
What's an echo?
I know. What is an echo? Man, and my dog just keeps popping his head up like, you gonna give me food?
Well, you're talking to that machine about me again. Yeah. Melanie, what have you thought of it so far?
I thought it was good. I was slightly concerned because they haven't really done a whole lot with the character really yet in the movies.
You actually read a bunch of... I don't know that this is necessarily pulled from specifically that run of Hawkeye, but that run of Hawkeye that was very popular.
Matt Fraction run. Yeah.
Right. You actually read a bunch of that.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it a lot, and I was going to say this feels kind of like that, not exactly. More so with her, with the girl, than with Hawkeye himself. But it's it's got the fun. It's got the fun, and that's what makes it appealing.
Right.
I will say just a little tiny little thing. It's not a big thing at all, really, but I like that Hawkeye's wife knows all about all of his stuff. And
oh yeah,
that's fun and that's good, and I prefer it that way.
Yeah, that's such a refreshing change from just the like, well, sorry, or I can't tell you anything, or whatever. Where she's like, in episode 2, he's on the phone and he's talking to her, and she's like, well, did you get the problematic outfit back? And he's like, well, I'm working on her, yeah, whatever. And like talking to her about his plans, and she's like, yeah, that's a good idea, blah blah blah. Yeah, I like that. That was a refreshing change for how superhero relationships are usually portrayed.
Right.
And she's not on screen very much, but like this is rounding out her character a lot better than they have even attempted, which they really haven't attempted. They've just used the family as kind of like this, I don't know, to give him a reason, or I don't know.
To add weight to his character. He's not just an Avenger, he's a family man.
Right.
Right. So Jesse, what can we look forward to, and how has it kind of kept up? I guess its quality or whatever.
Oh yeah, and it kind of ramps up. I don't know how much you guys want spoilers or care. I mean, like a lot of these things are things that people know were coming because they were in an end credit scene. Like, did you guys watch Black Widow? Mm-hmm. And so you saw.
No, we haven't seen Black Widow.
Oh, you haven't seen Black Widow. Okay.
No.
There's an end credit scene that ties directly to this. So.
Oh, okay.
So we should probably watch Black Widow.
I would, and I like, it's not a movie that I'm like, man, you really have to see this, but like, you're gonna love Yelena. Like, she rapidly became one of my favorite characters, at least in Hawkeye, and she's already one of the better characters in the Black Widow movie. And David Harbour is David Harbour, so like you'll
that's right.
You're gonna enjoy him too. Like him and the Yelena character, they totally make the movie. There's a lot of fun stuff in there. I think the thing that the thing that people have been waiting for finally comes to light in episode 5. And a lot of people are like, well, duh, it's all part of Maya's backstory, da 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 da. And it's like, you can't assume that from the MCU, because in the Black Widow movie, they take Taskmaster and do a total sideways tangent with that character. There's lots of characters like that. Batroc the Leaper in the Captain America movies. He is the same character. He's not. He's, George St. Pierre. I mean, he's different. He's just different. Not in a bad way. Same thing with Crossbones. A lot of these characters get a different twist to him. Isaiah Bradley, for example. Yeah. So the fact that certain things are the same as in the comics for this series is refreshing and really nice. So
I appreciate the tone of what we've seen so far. There's a lot of, how did I describe it, Melanie? Like ominous but mischievous magical Christmas music.
Yeah.
It's got Die Hard Home Alone Christmas music going the whole time. And I like that.
It's got that vibe because it is super violent, like Home Alone.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's like you say, it's jovial, it's mischievous, it's
The Home Alone violence hits different now. And I mean the pun intended. Watched that for GCU a couple of years ago, and wow, man, I know it's like cartoony, and that's how cartoony violence. But as an adult watching that, it's like that nail went right through his foot. That's not funny.
Things have evolved so differently. Like, it's so weird in how detached we were in the 80s and stuff. Like, you watch a Tom and Jerry cartoon, and you're like, man, I thought that was hilarious. But that's just scary. Like, they could have burnt that house down.
Right.
Same thing with, like Home Alone's part of that evolution. And now it's like you don't see that level of violence anymore in cartoons. We just don't find it funny anymore, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
We're like, violence was funny.
Yeah. It's because of me, because I'm that person. I'm like, why are you guys laughing? She fell down. That's sad. Don't laugh at her.
Hey, that's not cool.
But at the same time, you're like, I'll show a 7-year-old Hellraiser.
Yeah, but that's different. That's entertainment. That's not comedy.
That's not supposed to be funny. That's supposed to horrify you.
What was that? We were making snowmen in my kindergarten class, and so I put on the Rankin Bass Frosty the Snowman, which is just there on YouTube, so you can watch. And there's the magician with the hat that makes Frosty come alive. Here we go. This is something I've been watching. Frosty the Snowman on repeat. Right. This magician is hanging to the bottom of a train, and even the narrator's like, the one thing he would have to do, he didn't have any other choice but to jump off the train. And the kids are like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's a good thing he's a cartoon. Don't ever do that, kids." And then that was like the thing that brought them back to reality. It was like, "Yeah, he's a cartoon. He'll be all right." That was an actual quote from a kid today, so that was fine. Yeah, he'll be all right. He's a cartoon, guys.
That's funny. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You have, I guess it's an indication that people have more, I don't know.
They value life more?
Empathy?
Yeah, more empathy. And they have a better grasp on, like, I've seen old clips of, like, Alfred Hitchcock talking about how people like talking about slapstick and stuff, like where you watch, people. It's the thing of somebody walks in over a manhole, an open manhole, and falls down, and it's supposed to be funny. And Alfred Hitchcock's like, but in reality, he'd be like broken neck and mangled body. Like, that's not funny. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why Alfred Hitchcock was talking about that, but that clip is in my head. And in reality, I'm not making it up, but. Yeah, it's that thing of, I don't know. I guess anything, if we can get further away from Idiocracy's "Ow My Balls" or whatever it was, that show,
Right.
which is basically just was America's Funniest Home Videos. I mean, we've got there's seas of YouTube channels dedicated to that stuff, so it's still there. But
that reminds me of the babies falling down.
right,
Yeah,
right.
because that's hilarious, right? Falling babies.
Right.
Yeah, it's great when they start wailing, screaming. Yeah, it's real funny. Yeah, there's some weird YouTube videos out there where it's all like, yeah, babies falling, which could be cute if it's just like, oh, fall on your butt. But no, it's like babies taking headers and stuff. Like, oh my God.
No.
And it's still got like, not Benny Hill music, but like wacky music. And it's like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think there's a dark ulterior motive to the people that upload that stuff. They're just like, yes, I will corrupt them.
I do occasionally laugh at people falling or getting hurt, but that's only when there's something else, some other element in it, like they're doing something ridiculous and then they turn and then they like whack their head or, something like that.
Talking about, right?
Yeah.
I know the clip in your head where what did he do? The guy
he was trying to chug a 2-liter of ginger ale and then he was like, bleh. He started burping and he's like, what do I do?
Yeah, and then he turns around and slams his head into the garage doors, and that looks like it hurts. The severity of injury does have an impact on these things, but in that case, it really was the timing of things because it's instantaneous. He's just like, I'll chug this thing down like it's a challenge thing or something. He chugs it and then instantly goes, what do I do? Oh God! It's just like instantaneous. There's no feeling it out. It's just straight to what do I do?
Yeah, it's a good clip.
You get a gas X, man. Just chill.
Just like take a breath.
Right.
It's just instantaneous. It's so good. No.
Yeah.
Freaking TikTok.
True. Yeah.
What was our point?
Well,
So
we
Hawkeye.
were watching. Yeah, that's like Hawkeye. He always hits his mark. We don't.
Right.
So yeah, I would say definitely keep going because there's like even even episode 4 is kind of like I actually like I skipped it because I watched it, but like we skipped it and I just started playing episode 5 to see if Holly would notice that she missed one because she was out of town. And so I had to watch it because I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about it. And she didn't need it, but it's
Really?
a good episode. But it's a good episode. So I was like, okay, we've got time. Let's go back and we'll watch the one you missed. And it's one of those transition episodes where they're basically getting things together, and it's a lot of just fun character building interaction between Kate and Clint.
Right.
I think so far, I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, but this might be my 3rd favorite Marvel show.
Right.
Really? What? Okay. What are the? I'm gonna guess
Loki's
Loki.
number 1. Yeah. And then
WandaVision?
WandaVision, yeah.
Okay.
And then this, and then What If, and then the Skyhawk, whatever.
Skyhawk.
Yeah.
Captain. No, it's not even Captain Falcon. What's Captain Falcon? That's like that's something else. Star Fox or something.
It's Blue Falcon.
Sky Falcon.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yes.
Falcon Crest.
Falcon Crest, yes. And the Dynasty Kid.
Yeah, it's interesting. It does have, so far, it is much more Netflix street level Marvel shows, like you were saying previously. And I did miss that because those were a lot of like, yeah, of course there's plot and there's usually some type of mystery or something, but like it's watching characters do fairly mundane stuff, but like, they're still superheroes, so it gets crazy, but It's the character building and street level stuff is refreshing. It's refreshing to watch.
When it's taking that little bit of Hawkeye as Ronin from Endgame that was almost throwaway, and actually developing it. I mean, like I was chatting with Axton about this too, because he was like, "Now who's Ronin?" And I was like, "Well, in the MCU, it's just Hawkeye. Hawkeye was Ronin, full stop. That's it." You know, and he was like, "Oh." And I was like, where did I miss it? I was like, well, it was just this little blip in Endgame, which was like a 2.5 hour movie. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a huge deal, because as soon as the Avengers are like, we're going to save the day, he's an Avenger again. No more Ronin.
Yeah.
It really was like, I had forgotten. I
didn't remember the name of the character, but I remembered him playing that part, you know.
Right.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. The blip is a weird. It's weird because, I mean, sure, in the movies they can just like jump 5 years later, but then to like also dive back in, and we've got all these like, you know, these series, so we can kind of further explore, but still like nothing that actually took place in that period.
Right.
But it's doing well at touching back on stuff out.
And they're going to continue to do that too.
The effects of that period, yeah.
I mean, obviously the Clint Barton stuff, they're gonna like talk about that a little bit more. But also other characters that are involved here have a tie to the blip. And we get to see a little bit of that too, which is super good. I mean, like, it's really just fleshing out these characters and introducing the Maya character in a fun way.
Yeah.
So.
Flag Smashers.
No,
I hate that.
I like when they tie it together with the blip stuff, but I hope they do it appropriately though. I hated with the Spider-Man stuff that he came back. And he was the same age, but so were all of his friends. Like, did they all disappear at the same time? You know,
conveniently, all the faces that we'd be like expect to see there, they all also blipped out, so that they didn't have to like. There's not a lot of weirdness. Yeah, the Spider-Man's, and especially since it's connected, but it's still also another studio. I think they managed to work around that. It's obvious that it's kind of a workaround and it's a little hacky, a little duct tape it together to make it work, but I think they managed to work around it well enough, given that, like, that's not Sony's plan, man. Sony's got it. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, no,
right.
We want that Disney money. We'll go along with whatever.
Yeah, when they keep saying like we might lend Spider-Man back to the MCU, like he's allowed there. Like, oh, is he allowed?
Right, yeah. Meanwhile, they can't break away from the major Marvel characters. You know, you got Nick Fury or Iron Man or Doctor Strange all up in those movies.
Right. And it's like, well, you know, that's MCU's play, you know, like it makes more sense looking backwards at it now. It's like, why was Spider-Man so tied to Iron Man? Gee, Marvel. Well played, Disney.
I hate it, but it's a sales tactic of, you know, you get a customer and then basically you make them like, you do a bunch of extra stuff and then make them reliant on you. That way they have to keep you around, like as a salesman or whatever. And it totally is that. It's that tactic of like, oh yeah, no, you could leave if you really wanted to, but
but man, like Spider-Man interacting with these characters too, though, is the best Spider-Man stuff. Like, I love when Spider-Man in the comics has to interact with Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange has to kind of put up with Peter Parker's like nonsense. So like, even in the trailers that we've seen for No Way Home, I'm like, I love that. And if we're gonna get Reed Richards, now we'll have the Human Torch and Spider-Man, that interaction, that fun interplay. You could even have Spider-Man and his amazing friends. You could have Bobby Drake show up.
Man, I dig the Spider-Man movies. Those are pretty good. Those actually might be upper tier of the Marvel movies for me.
I really haven't gone to a theater for any movies. Like, I still haven't even seen the Ghostbuster movie. And that's one that I was like, yeah, I'd go to the theater for that. But I think Spider-Man will be the breaking point. Like, I will go see Spider-Man in the theater.
Yeah, I was supposed to go with Gabriel, my nephew. But instead, he's going with his sisters. I think this weekend.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no ants allowed?
Sure, but I have to buy my own ticket, my own popcorn, and
Oh, I see.
But if you don't drive them, how will they get home? Will they have no way home?
See, you gotta make them reliant on you.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So Hawkeye. Okay. Yeah. What other series are in the pipeline? I feel like this is the last one that I was aware of.
Well, then Echo is going to spin out of this.
Oh, okay.
So.
Oh, right. And there were. Oh no, that's I'm meshing.
And She-Hulk is coming, right?
Oh, that's another one. Was that Disney Plus though, or was that was like a?
Pretty
was
sure.
That gonna be a? Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
What a strange character to try to do.
Mm-hmm.
But why
Well, I
not?
think that's why they were going to do Disney Plus, because then they can make it more of a lawyer show.
Right.
And they can be, like they can play with the format a little, which I think is what's interesting about being able to do this show, like Hawkeye and the vibe that they're taking with it, because it would not make a good movie, but it's perfect for television.
Right.
And you can even dive into his trauma that happened when his family was blipped out. You can deal with the trauma of literally holding Natasha off the side of a cliff and watching her jump.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah.
She didn't even just. She did like a backflip and stuff.
She's like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
She's still a superhero.
I have one movie left in my contract. Peace out, Clint.
Yep.
Interesting. When's Loki coming back?
Not soon enough.
Yeah. Well, I like Loki the best because of all the cool sciencey stuff.
Right.
Speaking of.
Yeah, nice.
So I decided today the thing that I'm going to go along and talk about that you should be amazed by, because it is amazing. It's kind of it's amazing, but it's kind of small. So actually, it's like nanoscale. But there is a scientist. What's his name? Dr. Harold G. Sonny White. And most of his career has been working on warp technology, like a warp drive, or not. Yeah, like a warp drive. And obviously we haven't made one, but there's maths to prove that it could happen. And he was trying to find practical ways to make it happen, because most of the ideas that were supporting it were kind of unknowns, like some materials we don't actually have and things like that. So he worked really hard to work it down to stuff materials that we have on Earth that we could use to make this thing. But he wasn't all the way there yet. But he was working for DARPA on something completely different. And they were studying Casimir cavities, because they have weird geometries and do strange stuff inside of them. So they were shooting some lasers in there trying to see what they could find out. And they made a tiny little warp bubble, a little nano-sized warp bubble, but it is a warp bubble. So it's possible. We know it's possible. It happened. We had to make it bigger, but we can do it. So we could warp speed through space and travel the universe. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah, the point of the thing was like just that a warp is possible, or like a warp bubble is a
Existed.
thing that
Yes.
can exist. Yeah.
They recorded it. Yeah.
And it was coincidental that this guy who kind of specializes in warp drive research was
Happened to
working
be
on
there.
this other thing.
Yeah.
And a warp bubble happened.
Yeah, and they were like, if he wouldn't have been there, we probably wouldn't even have recognized it as that, We were just like, oh, there's some weird thing going on in there. And he's like, oh, no, that's a warp bubble. So, yeah. It's fate.
Cool.
Yep. So, hopefully soon we'll have, teleporters and all that jazz. I don't know that they're really connected, but they seem like they should be in my brain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, warp drives and teleporters go hand in hand.
It's all about folding space, right?
Okay, if a teleporter is folding space, I could get down with that more so than a teleporter that disassembles you
Yeah.
on an atomic level or whatever at an atom level and then reassembles you, because that's not warping, that's not teleporting, that's being murdered, and then
Was it
another you is being created
was,
elsewhere.
Crichton's timeline? You're like, it basically was take time travel and teleportation and mash up both of those things. So it was like teleportation, but through time. But using that same premise, that idea that you are disassembled at the genetic and molecular level and then rebuilt on the other side.
Like in Willy
in
Wonka,
time.
it's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory where they take a picture of him with the one camera and he flies through the air and then turns up in the little TV like the size of a chocolate bar, like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it makes throwing the time travel in there makes me think of Primer, where time traveling back somehow makes duplicates of them, but there's like a weird degrading that happens with each duplicate, and like their writing is, they can't write worth a crap, so they know that they're like X amount of
breaking the
duplicates
rules.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
A copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah.
Which in the analog world, kids, there's you copy tapes and stuff, like it would degrade quickly. Like, that's not so much the case with copy paste. You just do that for days.
I got a wallet, Steve.
Right. She touched my Pepe Steve.
I want pizza.
I love Michael Keaton. He's great.
I hope we see him in No Way Home. I feel like I saw a figure of the Vulture in a like Target or something, and but I haven't seen him on any of the trailers.
Right.
And it's like that's a character that should be in the Sinister Six if that's what they're going for.
Oh, I didn't even think about the Sinister Six. I don't know why. What are they? That's always like, I think it's coincidental, but that's always been the downfall of Spider-Man movies, and it's weird that there's been enough trilogies of Spider-Man movies that you can say once they hit the third, they feel for whatever reason they have to cram a ton of villains in, and they do every trilogy. Well, no, they didn't even wait till the third for the middle trilogy, but
Well, it's because they didn't get to 3.
right, they would have.
Yeah.
Well, this one they're putting in like all of the ones they've had in previous Spider-Mans and then some.
Yeah.
So
Like, oh, hey, hold my beer, that type of thing.
Yeah, right.
Spider-Man 3, too many villains. Spider-Man 2, too many villains. Hold my beer. We're taking those villains. We're those villains specifically.
Yeah.
yeah, no kidding.
It's weird. It's weird.
They're trying to be like, oh, we can do it better, haha, watch and see. But they should be careful because this is not just a trilogy; it's a trilogy of trilogies. You know?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it kind of ties it together. Then it actually does
Right.
make it a trilogy of trilogies.
Yeah.
This is the most Sony Spider-Man we've gotten so far from the MCU.
Right. Yeah, I just wonder how they're gonna. There's bound to be villains that are just like, oh, I'm here. Well, oh, I'm gone. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like
I'm a little worried about
gonna be
Venom.
quick.
Like, I'm worried they're going to try to pull the Sony Venom in, and if they do it wrong, it's going to be so dumb. Because that Venom is so dumb. I'd almost prefer the Topher, the Topher Grace one or whatever his name is.
Penis Parker.
What?
Isn't that what they call him? Penis Parker, where he does his little stupid
no.
dance.
No, that's what they call. That's what they call the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man from Spider-Man 3 when he's emo Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Refer to him as Penis Parker because he's a D. I mean, too many villains gets blamed, but it's usually not. That's not
Right.
the cause. It's like a dip in writing, or or in the case of like Sam Raimi's, like a dip in quality due to studio interference and mandates and stuff like that.
But really, still, if you're doing one movie, introducing that many characters and making you give a crap about any of them is going to be difficult. So I can see how having too many villains muddies it up.
Right, and I think maybe the benefit here, other than the fact that they don't have to commit to like all of the villains, they can. I'm sure many of them will be glorified cameos. I'm gonna guess we get quite a bit more time with Doc Ock, since he's been kind of a focus of the advertising, than we do with Green Goblin and whoever else.
Jamie Foxx's Electro
And stuff like
I'm
that.
betting the Lizard barely is in there.
Right. So I feel like they'll probably some of those will just more or less be cameos. And I mean, at this point, MCU, they don't have to explain. They're just like, 7 movies ago, you didn't watch it, too bad.
Right.
And if they're gonna like allow previous franchises to get lumped in with it, they're just like, yeah, you know who that is.
We're referencing a movie that's almost 20 years old now.
Yeah, you know who that is. Oh, you don't? Too bad. Most of the other geeks in the audience do.
Yeah.
Well, too bad. We got your money.
Oh my God, it is almost 20 years ago. Spider-Man came out in 2002.
Yep.
Yeah. It's coming up on 20.
Yeah.
Weird. I remember being kind of disappointed in that movie.
The first one?
Yeah.
It was okay. It did what it was supposed to do. But then 2 was the better movie. Still
2
is. Yeah.
It is the better movie, and that's the one where I was like, there's Sam Raimi. Okay.
Right.
It's like
Is that Hook?
yes,
Oh,
you knew.
There you are,
There
Peter.
you are, Peter. You knew exactly what I was going for.
Yep.
We're not old.
No. We didn't watch certain movies over and over and over again.
We relate to these movies being 20 years old by referring to a movie that's like got to be about 30 years old at this point.
God, yeah. Oh, I don't even want to know how old Hook is.
I seen Hook in the theaters. I was not disappointed. That movie is amazing.
Yeah. It was good.
It holds up. I don't know if it does.
I feel like it probably does.
Yeah.
1991.
Oh, yep.
It
30.
is 30 years
30.
old. Yep.
Wow. I went to see that in the theater, I think, with my grandma.
Aw. That's a lovely memory.
And also Roger Rabbit. Also, I think, with my grandma. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
You want to know something about Hook?
Yes.
Evil didn't die 30 years ago in that movie.
Nope.
And it didn't die tonight either.
It never dies.
You want to know something else about Hook?
Yeah.
The Smee character and the Captain Hook character, the actors played them as a couple.
Yep.
Oh.
And it shows, I think. But it's good. I always appreciated their dynamic.
Yeah.
Super fun. I love it how Shmi is just like doing things and not paying attention. He's like, no, stop me, Shmi. Shmi, you better get over here and stop me.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you're being dramatic. I thought you were being dramatic, sir.
It's been a while since I watched it, but I want to say the part of that movie that doesn't hold up as well is just the kid stuff, but that's as being an adult watching a kid's movie.
Right.
It's fine for kids. Like I think it's still fine. It's just like the Rufio stuff and all that. It's like kind of cheesy. It's like okay, it's pretty cheesy, but Rufy, but it's still like so good.
Mm-hmm. I don't like Tinkerbell. That's about the only part of that movie that I didn't care for.
Yeah.
I think Tinkerbell's fine. It's weird. She had a crush on. She
Yeah.
She has like a jealousy thing going on. It's like, well,
You're too old for him.
what's that?
Weird. You're too old and too small. Knock it off.
Well, I think she always did have a little bit of a jealousy of Wendy, but like when it's a cartoon, you don't think about it. When it's Julia Roberts,
Yeah.
then you're like, this is weird.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What an episode, guys! What an episode.
We really covered everything
We did.
for not having any idea.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had the like. I feel like some episodes too would be even better, but like kind of a low energy episode. But I always had it's like we don't need anything. Maybe one thing, a jumping off point, because we can easily, and we will, even when we have a whole episodes worth of topics planned, springboard off of one thing into a million things. Hook. What's going on, Jasper?
Jasper, heyo.
Popping up at the end.
We developed the Mundane True Crime Podcast.
We invented a podcast.
I don't even know how we got there.
That's going to be a new genre. It's going to be short-lived.
Yeah.
We're going to go to jail. We talked about,
Probably the hosts.
we talked about virtually every movie and TV show in the MCU. We talked about the Spider-Mans, and we talked about Hook, and there was a Roger Rabbit mentioned, but Paul, I believe, is gone by now, so it's fine. We can talk about Roger Rabbit without things getting weird. Hey, Jasper, also, we gave you a shout-out earlier this episode because we talked about that Nick Cage movie trailer that you shared to us. And, yeah, that was a good share. I hadn't seen that trailer yet.
Oh. And it was awesome, and we thank you.
Yeah.
And also warp drives. Warp bubbles are a thing, so warp drives can conceivably actually be a thing someday.
Yeah. And
It's fitting
Uh-huh.
that we discussed it here because we're all a little warped.
Yeah. Yep.
Wah, wah. What were you going to say, Melanie?
No, it's cool.
Okay. Jasper is stoked for it. So, that's our episode. We will not be streaming next week because that falls on Christmas Eve, I believe.
The eve of Christmas Eve, but I think I have a Christmas.
Eve.
Yeah, I have a Christmas on that Thursday, so.
I hate Christmas.
Excuse me. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't like it, so we're not doing it.
We will. That's why. Grinch reasons.
Yep.
But we will most likely be back the week following for some type of New Year's thing. On New Year's Eve, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can stay up till midnight listening to us.
The next day. Like,
Yeah.
don't, we'll do the show. You'll listen to us. Then you can download the podcast and listen to it again.
Yep. Speaking of downloading the podcast, if you want to, let's see. Oh, good, Jasper. I've been wondering because, like, I know you had that set up, but we haven't really utilized it. For audio listeners, Jasper says he has new internet and setting studio back up after Christmas to try to get podcasting again. Cool. I've been thinking about you. And listener, if you've been thinking about listening to more of our episodes, go to grawlixpodcast.com. It's GRAWLIX podcast.com. And you could listen to all our episodes, like the one I'm going to post as soon as I get off of here from last week.
or you could go to Electronic Media Collective and find not only Grawlix podcast, but Grawlix, what's it called?
Cinematic Universe.
Cinematic Universe, thank you.
You can,
And several other lovely podcasts.
yeah, like Paul's podcast that we mentioned earlier, Moose's Monster Mash. He's doing 13 days of 13 horrifying. I'm not going to critique horrifying days. I feel like you don't need to specify horror in horrifying because it's like there. It's all good.
You said you weren't gonna.
I can't help it. And he's not here to defend himself.
We still have a bunch of wrestling podcasts on there too.
There's a few wrestling podcasts, not nearly as many as there used to be. Pro Wrestling Iowa or Pro Wrestling Mothership. I don't know the state of that. And their podcast feed always gets jacked up. So like I don't know if it's still going. I don't get it. Doesn't episodes don't come through whatever feed I have. But there are marked. Apparently, is a very popular one. Is marked out. We carry them. You can find old episodes of Vicious Circle podcast exclusively.
Yeah.
But that podcast is no longer.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It disintegrated apparently.
Oh.
I got the episodes though, so
All right.
Sid Vicious.
So if you like wrestling and nerdy stuff, and maybe a couple things that are both nerdy and wrestling, go to the Electronic Media Collective and find us all.
We're there. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. And they gone, Jasper. And take it easy, Jasper.
In 60 seconds.
They gone. It's going to be so full of Cage. Why am I excited for a Nick Cage movie? It's just going to be it's pure Cage.
That's it.
Because I'll know. Because that's appropriate. That's why. Cage is great when it's appropriate.
When you come home and everything on your computer is Nick Cage, that's when it's appropriate.
That put me in a panic. I was like, I've been hacked. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great holiday.
Yep. Bye-bye.